President Biden is not alone in expressing his frustration over how Netanyahu is conducting this war. Many Israelis are also angry and voicing their outrage, holding nightly protests, demanding not only that the Netanyahu government focus more on a deal to bring home the remaining hostages, but also many of them calling for Israel's longest-serving prime minister in history to resign. My next guest says, quote, Benjamin Netanyahu is Israel's worst prime minister ever, and that Netanyahu's obsession with his own destiny as Israel's protector has caused his country grievous damage. And Anshel Pfeffer joins us now from Israel. Anshel, thank you so much for joining us. In your article, you write that Prime Minister Netanyahu, had he accepted defeat in 2021, perhaps today he would have been remembered as one of Israel's most successful prime ministers. Instead, you write, quote, he has brought far-right extremists into the mainstream of government and made himself and the country beholden to them. His corruption is flamboyant, and he has made terrible security decisions that brought existential danger to the country he pledged to lead and protect. Above all, his selfishness is without parallel. He has put his own interests ahead of Israel's at every turn, unquote. Do you think that Netanyahu is dragging this war out longer than it needs to be for his own political survival?
I think that's very clear by now that the way the war is going, which on one side Netanyahu is talking about a total victory and the need to press on to do the operation in Rafah, and the way that he's conditioning a hostage agreement or a hostage release agreement for a temporary ceasefire with some kind of bigger military push. Well, at the same time, we're seeing on the ground that the military isn't carrying out that push and they're scaling down of the Israeli forces. It looks like a recipe for a much longer war. And the main reason for that happening is that Netanyahu feels that as long as this war is, as long as he can say that Israel's at war, it'll be much more difficult for his political opponents to demand an early election, which will probably remove him.
So it's just a factual matter that Netanyahu's survival as prime minister depends on some anti-Arab zealots in his cabinet, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich primarily. He needs their support to stay in power. If he alienates them, they can leave and there'll be a new election. He'll not have support to be prime minister. How much do you think that's the reason that not enough humanitarian aid is getting into Gaza?
I don't think that's the main reason. I think the reason that not enough humanitarian aid got into Gaza is a combination of reasons, which partly is the trauma that Israelis were feeling in the aftermath of October 7. Partly it's the way that the Israeli military was focused on the military campaign and didn't think that the humanitarian side of it was something that they, as the army, needed to prioritize. And yes, the third element, I think, is this political paralysis at the heart of Netanyahu's cabinet. He can't make any major decision because he's scared of angering either the far right wing of his government, without whom he doesn't have a majority, or the pragmatic wing, and of course the Biden administration. That leads to indecision. And what we're seeing now is that there needed to be some kind of proactive take on the humanitarian front, and that has been absent from Israel's decision making, and Netanyahu is the man who's responsible for that.
So President Biden had a tough conversation with Netanyahu in which he said it was going to be tough for the United States to continue to support Israel if Gaza keeps going the way it is, the campaign. What do you think Netanyahu's going to do? Our friend Barak Ravid is reporting that Biden said out and out, if he doesn't change it, it's going to be tough to support you.
Well, that's also what the White House readout said. And we saw already what Netanyahu did immediately after his very tough phone call with the president. He rushed to the Israeli cabinet and immediately passed a decision to open up the main routes through Israel for supplies to Gaza. This is something that for 6 months the Israeli government hasn't done. Netanyahu did this literally within minutes after speaking to Biden. So we can see that this call had a major effect on Netanyahu. But it's interesting that Netanyahu rushed to have the vote at the beginning of the cabinet meeting. Now, votes usually take place after a debate is held. In this case, Netanyahu was so scared of one of his far-right ministers, Itamar Ben-Gvir, who had been delayed and wasn't yet at the cabinet meeting, that he rushed to have the vote before Ben-Gvir came. So on the one hand, he hopes appease Biden by making those decisions, and the other hand, avoid a confrontation with one of his partners.
Fascinating. Anshel Pfeffer, thank you so much. Come back.